We just
Hey,
want to
sir,
move to
are you
the,
going to make those slides available?
yes, I'm sorry. I think somebody asked that too. So we'll make the slides and the recording available too afterwards. So thank you. We got a couple other questions coming in. I'll try to keep up with those as we go along. We want to go to the next section. I think that they've included this in some of the other meetings over the years. I think this will be a good part of the program as well. We have two people that we've got for the next 30 minutes. They'll have 10 or 15 minutes apiece, and maybe they can address some questions that you might have also. Two fellows that have received this particular grant in their operation. We're first going to have with us Mr. Phil Baggett, and he's going to present some information to us, and then we'll follow that with Dr. Jim Osborn. And so they've got some things they want to bring to everyone, and then if we have some time for questions specifically for them, we'll try to get to those as well. But I'm going to turn to Mr. Phil Baggett at the moment. Phil, thank you, sir, for being with us and agreeing to do this for us today.
Troy, thank you. It is a pleasure, and I feel like sincerely a moral obligation to help others with this grant that has helped us so very, very, very much. We are farmers up in beef farmers up in Clarksville, Tennessee, Montgomery County. We sell under the brand name of Tennessee Grass Fed. Our slogan is local since 1837. And my family has been on this land since 1837. I would go a step further and say this, I always wanted to come back home. My career was away from the farm, went up to Knoxville to school for a few years, and then kind of hit the road, but I wanted to come back, and this certainly this grant has helped us build the business to the point that that it is sustainable. And you know, the old cliche is it's a hobby farming unless it makes money, and it won't be sustainable unless it is profitable for the long term. When the hobbyist is no longer involved, is passed on to that final reward, you know, those that come behind him, and I certainly see it with my family. You know, they just it's got to be profitable and bring in people that will help sustain it. And again, the only way to do that long term is to be profitable. Just overview, because it's almost humorous. I did not have a very scientific introduction to the value-added program. I was attending the PIC 10 conference in 2017. My wife had bought some cookbooks to sell in our little store, and I was walking around, walked by the desk where Rural Development USDA was set up, and had a good explanation of the product of this program by Miss Lola, and really got us started. She mentioned the sessions such as this that had been held. They'd already been at that time. Well, as a matter of fact, it'll be the same this year. The session had been held before PIC 10. But she told me that the Center for Profitable Agriculture had done the effort. I knew Hal Pepper, who has helped on so many things, and we're going to miss him in retirement. And he basically gave me an overview and the PowerPoint, but he also referred me to Dr. Hughes, who couldn't, and I was an ag econ major, so I felt pretty comfortable giving him a call, but he made me feel that you know that my questions were welcomed, and sent me his PowerPoint, and kind of got us, you know, going on whether to what was available and how we might apply. And we're so glad, very definitely, that you know that we did. I would just say the grants have given us a lot of flexibility. The ability to take it, you know, a little bit more of a chance and go forward. The first one was to enhance our online and farm store sales. And Chuck gave you a good overview there. I mean, we hired sales personnel, some people to help us with the farmers market, some just people that help, you know, with our inventory, just a variety of things that really helped us get going. The next grant we got, it was just the timing worked out perfectly. We'd grown that out pretty much fully and needed to move on to selling into wholesale restaurant accounts and other institutions. And with the grant, the second one changed the sales. Well, actually, it made an addition to the sales force of people that were capable of handling outside sales, delivery driver, marketing materials, so important for us, website maintenance, a person to be able to do that and keep us, keep us current. And of course, that, as we all know, that if you sell online, the updating of it never ends. I mean, there's something to do every day, and it seems like with Instagram and Twitter, so many things where it's a time sink. It takes folks, and the grant gave us the flexibility to hire those folks, and again, they have to be hired in place and learn about the business before before they become profitable to you or pay their own way, and the grant allowed us to do that. We were not familiar at all with the use of grant writers, and by the way, I need to back up and tell you that all the grants, the applications that we have submitted, we started with grant writer, with a grant writer, used the same one now, and Chuck might give us some insight into that. Certainly not a requirement, but again, it's worked out well for us because, again, just didn't know reasonable business experience, but not any whatsoever with grant writing or grant writers. And again, back to when in doubt, go to Google to look for grant writers. And Dr. Hughes, I think, mentioned a couple, and they were completely booked at that time. I was late in that first time. Again, went to Google and looked for someone to engage to do the work. This was I looked for USDA experience, and it was really kind of funny. I was late, and the individual that we ended up hiring and become friends with, said, "Well, don't think I've got time, but send me what you got that will get us, get us started. Prove that, in essence, prove that you're a viable candidate, and we'll see what we can do." And we sent it in and got a call back. "Hey, you look like you might be capable of having us enough to get the project done," and things really worked out pretty well. I'll just touch on this briefly. Again, I've been asked about payment for the grant writers, and there are a couple of approaches really. One is a straight contingency fee. Basically a percentage of the award if you receive it. And they get nothing. The grant writer gets nothing for their time if they're not successful. And that range is from 6 to 8%, at least. I'll say, based on what Tennessee Grass Fed is paid, we found the range to be 6 to 8%. You can lower that percentage some, and I'm not experienced with others, but some upfront payment might be required. Puts skin in the game. If you're successful, you pay a lower percentage, but if you're not successful, the grant writer keeps the contingency fund or the advance retainer. I guess that's a good term. The retainer that has been paid to them. And again, for us, it's been around $2,000 in that range. I think one time we paid a little more. But again, I would either one works. It just depends on, I think, on what that grant writer is capable of. You certainly can, and I think should ask for for some recommendations or maybe some sample of their work. They're going to, of course, respect the privacy of those they've submitted grants for. They're not going to send out that individuals for you to take a look at, but they should be able to prove that they're viable in their field. As Chuck said, their educational requirements, PhD in ag econ or in finance is a good thing. It certainly would be something you'd want to look for and give attention to. Just to kind of start on summarizing, what have we learned? Number one, start early, and as the old cliche goes, rule 2, when in doubt, refer to rule 1. They are, as Chuck mentioned, there's a lot of complexity involved. And it's hard to start too early, getting your letters done. Some people that you think might be available to give you a letter and would do it turn out to be on vacation, they're ill, retired, all those things happen to you. So if you start early, you've got a little leeway to play with. We'll say the real number two, read the instructions carefully. I've got to fess up. This Chuck, as he was speaking of the not listing that going into enough detail on the qualifications of management, that stumped our toe. The buck stops here. I made the mistake, blaming no one except Phil Baggett for that. But it was very, very costly. We got the minimum points, and it clearly, and we were one of those. It was very close, and that would have made the difference. And please learn from what we did. I didn't want to be shy about telling you that, because it can certainly catch you, even with experience and success in the past. If you are going to use a grant writer, and again, not a necessity at all, we might be able to tackle it, but there seems to be we will probably, well, I'm sure we'll use a grant writer again, but not necessary. Give them your thoughts. I mean, the more we were told initially by our writer, the more you can give them not only detail, but your feedback after you read ask for an early copy, their draft, the more you can help them and create a collaboration with the grant writer, the better off, the better your product is going to be. I would also, and this is very closely related to that, proofread the proposal carefully to make sure that it's very easy to have a misunderstanding over, or not over something, but just due to a lack of full understanding on the part of the grant writer of exactly what your intent is within one of the work goals and the work to be accomplished. I would take that one step further, and I believe it served us well, is I would have a third party proofreader to go through the proposal. And this is going to sound counterintuitive, but the less they know about what if they're very capable, and I was lucky to go to high school with a brilliant woman who became head of the English department, one of the leading private schools in Nashville. She signed up to do the work for us, to do the work read through and get your grammar right, and ask them, well, does this make sense to you? I mean, I know you're not out here raising the cattle or getting them to market, but did we cover everything here? Does it make sense? And grammatically, you don't want mistakes at all in that in that area. And just literally, hey, would you please go through and make sure that where we say that the total is 120, is it 120 and not 118 or 122? Just making sure that everything is totally correct. And again, I would expect to pay for that individual to do the work, because you do want a good close work through of the project and of the submission as it's going in. I would be ready to submit, and lastly, I would be ready to submit a few days early. Chuck's staff is always, the area specialists have always done just a read through for us, just to just make sure everything's there. Is it signed? They're not, of course, they're not scoring or grading or anything at all like that. Ms. Buckingham did our last one, and it just helps so much. And that's only possible, or you maximize your chance of catching something if you get it to them a few days early. So that's Troy. That's sort of my overview. I can take questions now, or at least some more time for Dr. Osborn. But that's kind of what I have to to offer, and we're very appreciative of what we've been able to do with the funding this grant has provided.
Mr. Baggett, thank you, sir. If you don't mind to hang out with us for a few minutes,
Certainly.
that'd be great. We appreciate that information, the outline, and the attention to detail that you went through on that part for us as well, and for joining us this morning. If you'll hang out with us just a little bit, I'm going to ask Jim Osborn if he would to. He's been one of the recipients in the past, and we'd just like to hear from him any pointers that he might have for you all as well. So again, Dr. Osborn, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Well, I apologize that I am traveling today and I'm in the airport in Atlanta. So if there's noise in the background, I apologize for that in advance. I am a new farmer. I'm a veteran farmer. We raise Wagyu beef, and we're out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we sell by the cut. We started the ranch formally in 2014, and we've gone from 10 acres to 400 acres, and we processed about 55,000 pounds of beef last year and sold through our retail shop. From our side, we looked at it. Mr. Peppers helped review our application or give us guidance along the way. And we tried to select things that were pretty simple for us to manage from a budgetary standpoint. So from the funding standpoint, we used a customer service person that we were going to hire, and we looked at that person's salary or payment over the subsequent 3-year period. We also got a agreement from advertiser who was going to do magazine ads, and they submitted a budget and a letter of commitment. We also used both our cattle, but we also purchased other cattle that was used to produce beef. And so our cattle was the in-kind side and their cattle was the purchase side. And so we've grown the business quite a bit. From our side, we've used the grant money to grow the business. Our big problem was that we had a 6-month wait for people to get fillets. Being able to increase our production allowed us to get it to the market. And we've shortened that wait down to, there really isn't a wait currently. And it was the same thing with people buying quarters and half steer, just because we didn't have enough of the animals on present for us to produce it. So being able to use the money to purchase cattle that was ready for slaughter, and then also to pay for the slaughter. So the grant has worked out well for us. The things that I would also comment on is the post-grant reporting. As you're planning your grant and doing all the paperwork that Phil was talking about, because all of that is exactly correct, you also need to be looking at the post award reporting. So there's forms 425 and SF 270 that you need your accountant or whoever does your books to be looking at those and preparing how you're going to ask for the reimbursement as you go along. We signed our grant letter on September 20, and by October 1st, when the grant started, we were already responsible to report back that we use no funds, but you're required for reporting at that point. So there are things that you kind of have to look at. The other is, as we looked at funding, you really have to have enough funding to support spending the money, because you're going to spend the money up front and then you're going to get it back. And that can take a few weeks to several. We've had it take 4 to 6 weeks to get a reimbursement. You just have to be prepared for that time frame. We certainly have been appreciative. We still are appreciative of the grant, and we're continuing to see the results of the support. And it, like everyone said, there's a lot of details. The biggest thing is just be over detailed. Make sure if your staff don't have resumes, they're easy to create, and just be very detailed with the process. So that really, I think Phil did a great job in outlining it. That I had the same experience as Phil. We did do our own grant, but I have familiarity through my medical side and writing grants in the past. So we were able to feel more comfortable in that process. So I kind of, unless somebody has questions, that kind of is my input.
Dr. Osborn, thank you, sir. We've got a few minutes at this point. We would ask anybody in the audience if you got specific questions that would relate to Mr. Baggett or Dr. Osborn. We've got a couple of minutes if you want to ask them something in particular.
I do.
Yes, go
I
right
do
ahead.
have one question real quick. So this is a federal grant. Can we use these in conjunction with, say, Tennessee State grant, or is it one or the other?
They're just not overlapping funds.
Just not so for the same. So you have to bring different things to the table. Like you have to pay for different.
Like we get TAEP money, but it's not for the same projects.
Okay.
You can't use, like, if you get a state grant, you can't use that as a match. We get into matching.
Right. Okay.
That's kind of a big no-no. Definitely can't use federal funds, but I wouldn't use any state funds. I would come up with a match some other way.
Okay.
Dr. Osborn, there was a comment on here that could you just talk about going from 20 cattle to 400 cattle, the 400 number?
Talk about going from 20 cattle. So that was, I didn't go to 400 cattle. I went from 10 acres to 400 acres during the 10 years we've been, or 8 years we've been in ranching. We've gone this year, we've continued to add, and we now are at 200 head of cattle, but we use the grant to fund finished steers that we would take to slaughter and produce beef. So I don't know if that really answers the question, but I'm not really sure what specific question they were looking for other than that. We've just been aggressively farming for the last 8 years and growing the land and growing the infrastructure.
I just asked, I think, Mr. Ernst, does that answer your question, what you were looking at? No, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Brenda, does that answer your question okay? Or you need a little more detail? We got it. Okay, we got it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other questions, or Chuck or Dr. Hughes, anything specifically for these two guys that y'all want to might say?
I'm sorry. My question was, thank you. I'm Ma'am Ernst. Can two small farmers who are collaborating apply for the grant together?
I answered that question in the chat right after your question. Yes, they can. You just have to form a cooperative or a partnership, and you have to apply accordingly based on the regulation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I would like to thank Dr. Osborn and Phil. Really appreciate both y'all taking time out of your busy schedules to come on and share your stories and your grant experiences with everyone. And y'all both been great to work with, and we really appreciate y'all taking the time to do this.
Troy?
Yes, sir.
Can I tell people how to get to the toolkit right now?
Yes, I want to say we've got one other comment over here that
Okay.
Dr. Osborn might be interested in. Dr. Osborn, somebody mentioned on here in our chat. I guess you may see it, but you have an impressive, inspirational testimony. Look forward to ordering some of your beef and lamb, just like your Facebook page. So we appreciate that comment as well. One other question: were you able to expand your herd with the grant?
For us, we did not use it to expand your herd. From the specifics that we had, you had to buy finished animals that you took directly to processing. So you can't use it to buy animals that you will process down the road, which would have been nice if we could have finished them ourselves and bought calves that were cheaper, but we had to buy finished steers, so we had to negotiate and contract with a provider who'd finish them specifically our unique way. And then those animals would go directly to harvest, but we were not able to buy unfinished animals.
Yes, Dr. Osborn's correct. If you were to buy unfinished animals and finish them out, then then we would be buying, your herd would be buying it for agricultural production, which is an ineligible expense. So you can only buy a finished animal that you're just slaughtering for additional inventory.
So specific to ours, we had a proprietary and unique feed operation. And so we had to negotiate for them to get our proprietary non-disclosure agreement feed. So the animals were finished off as we do it. And so it does require some mental gymnastics to get through and make things happen sometimes.
Thank you, sir. We had a couple of questions, or a question on there maybe a couple of times, and Chuck and Dr. Hughes may hold this to the end about sharing application or maybe give an example of some sort. Can we kind of table that to our questions at the end, and I'll try to come back to that one. That one's come up a couple of times in the chat. I just want to say to Mr. Baggett, Dr. Osborn, thank you for your time and especially giving us these good pointers. I think that'll be helpful to everyone here. So I just want to thank each of you guys for your time and for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Bill, thank you.
Troy, thank you, and thanks to really all the USDA staff that helps implement these. I hope I've conveyed it. It was a game changer for us, and certainly a pleasure and again a feel of responsibility to share that with others that are coming down the line here.
Sure thing. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Dr. Hughes, you want to hit your what you asked just a minute ago?
Yeah. Everybody, if you go up to the top of the meeting chat, it's the second entry. You'll see a link, and you want to copy or click on that link, and that will get you to the toolkit, and then or get you to where you can access it. So actually, I'll go ahead and do it myself. Again, although I've checked it numerous times, but you click on it, it should bring you to the toolkit. And if you come in at the top, it'll say value to producer grants closed. And that's true, they are closed because they haven't opened back up for 2023, but they will probably sometime in February is what Chuck's been told. I guess I'm not talking out of school there. But click on that grants .gov posting that you see there. And then you'll get this saying grants.gov, view grant opportunities. And if you scroll down, you should see a open the value added, click on related documents. So click on that related documents tag. And then you'll see sitting there value producer application toolkits, planning, value added VAPG applications toolkit working capital. Click on that working capital under file name, that Word document, and that should bring it up for you. Okay. Once you bring it up, nothing's simple in this world. You'll have a document that to me is very weird looking. Down at the bottom right, there should be three icons. One is reading mode. It looks like an open book. One is print layout is the middle one. Click on print layout. The last one's with the little globe on it is web layout. You don't want that either. Click on that middle one, print layout, and that'll give you the versions that you need. And you need that version because that version has page numbers in it. And I'm going to refer extensively to those page numbers. What we're going to do is work our way through this document. Okay, when you get to my portion of it, And at the very least, we hope that will get you to the point where you have an idea in terms of the detail that you want to put into this document. Okay, so when the new version of when the new call comes out, the new version of the toolkit will come out, and all probability it will look very much like this one, if not exactly like this one, actually. So it'll really guide you through the process of applying if you decide to do so. Okay, I'm done. Troy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Hughes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you very
Sure.
much.